Hello YouTubers, Reloading Bench back with you once again, and we'll call this a miscellaneous table saw update. Do a couple videos. This was the power structure that these giant, God, that's, what's that, 1/8 of an inch, maybe even thicker. These steel, they were actually, he tried to match, they were kind of yellowish. But these were, the way he had these set up was, I think it was kind of like, where we got, it was this. Okay, so it was this one, it was like this, and then bolted to the frame of the stand. So you had power, and I think it was actually this way, power and electrical outlet that was fed by a circuit breaker. There's some old shit here. Even this, you know, when you take this cover off, when I took all the wiring out, that was covered by this heat wrap that's going to be soon into the garbage. I think I'm going to reuse these. I'll strip these and repaint them in hammered gold. What's this called? Yeah, hammered gold. And then for the brown stuff, I didn't like brown stuff. For the handful of pieces of steel that are coated in a brown paint that is, you know, rusting off, Rust-Oleum's hammer didn't have, you know, this particular brown, and Bear had a hammered version. It's called brown. I think Rust-Oleum had some funny ass name, and it just didn't look goody. So I decided to try the Bear out, and the price the same. Performed. I sprayed a couple pieces with this. You'll see the motor because the caps on the motor are a brown, and then the gold that's in the center. So I've been taking that apart and trying to clean that. God, that hasn't been cleaned ever. So I thought it would just be interesting to show. I mean, this is some heavy duty stuff from back in the day. Like, these are keepers. Honestly, this stuff is, you know, so much more heavy duty than the stuff you get at the shops today for electrical components, and they just don't make it like this anymore. Everything's kind of plasticky and lower grade in terms of quality and materials. So the wire, I usually keep wire too. I'll probably keep this circuit breaker just for giggles. This will get recycled, probably new components. This one's broken a little bit, so and then garbage for this. And as I said, I think I will recycle these and use this as the bracket for what I do with my replacement power switch. I'll probably do a paddle switch, a modern paddle switch like I did for the saw about a year ago, year and change. So that's that. More to come. Morning, folks. This was a marketplace pickup, thinking that this would be real oak, and I'm finding that on these kind of desks, the only thing that's real oak is the trim and the door fronts. Side trim, face, again, trim. I was hoping the top would be, but it's not. It looks like it's plywood, which is a bummer. In fact, this is a real thin. That's oak, but it's real thin, maybe usable. The idea was to, and again, maybe salvageable, to make shelving for the table saw. And the price was right on this one at $0. So we'll see what we can salvage, but we'll call this one of the bigs. All right, so technically these aren't bigs, but I thought I'd start with these. These were all the nuts, bolts, and washers that were evapor-rusted and then blued and oiled. They need to be wiped down before they're installed. This stuff, I did the Evaporust too, and the metal finish was obviously kind of hacked. So I decided to try the metal finish hammer tone, and this is by Krylon, not by Rust-Oleum. And I like the way that came out enough in terms of giving it a metal look, without giving it a spray paint look. And by that I mean, you know, the hammer tone hiding the imperfections of the pieces, and it went on really nice. So I mean, this is heavy duty, and I'll let it cure a few more days, and then I'll put things together, and then this wing extension will be ready to go. In fact, let me bring out the other two pieces. These were not in terribly bad shape. I mean, you can still see the rust. So I decided to just wire wheel these and oil, and then finish with some steel wool. So these are clean but charactered, and if I do take them down any further, then I would probably Evaporust and then re-blue. But right now I'm going to leave these as is. So these will all go together soon. All right, here's the original webbed wing or table extension, and I took the grinder down to bare metal with an abrasive wheel, and then waxed that. The inside was done in black hammer tone, and then the bottom was completely done in black hammer tone, again, everywhere. And then all the sides were polished, and a coat of paste wax. We'll see how that prevents or slows the rusting down. And there's a lot of different debate on the wings, the table extensions. Some saying that the webbed ones are cheesy, and I would say that the aluminum webbed ones are cheesy. The cast iron, 27 pound, 20 some odd pound, I'd have to weigh it, very solid. And coupling this with the other extension that I've got a previous segment on this. I'm also looking at picking up another one of these in this particular pattern. So the three box, and then what I call X or H or I bar across the center, because there's a lot of different designs of these things, but I want to match this original one and have one on the left and one on the right, and then probably still use that extension tube for longer sheets. All right, so I absolutely love how the table came out. Came back to life. Grain looks great. Some of the trouble spots, I mean, there's little divots that there's nothing I can do about, but truly came back to life. A lot of work. Didn't do any chemicals. WD-40, sanding, some abrasive composite grinding to tear off that first layer of rust, and working that in. So I'll continue to work on it because I don't want it to rust. And it's got a couple coats of polish and wax on here already, and there'll be more. So this came out great. Hello YouTubers, some more Biggie updates. We'll start with paper, and then we'll move out to the garage driveway. The stand has come along really nicely, but I was noticing in other pictures, some of the stands, similar stand that I have, has these leg extensions that allow you to raise the stand up a little. And I was going to try and pick up some of these, and I came across, I found somebody who had these much longer extensions, and I thought, wow, that's kind of cool. So the person that I got the extensions from, again, if you think about what color this should be and then what color it is, these were hella rusty. They were hell of rusty. In fact, these nuts and bolts, which that's an older pick, I ordered this from this guy for two reasons. One, the primary reason was for these leg extensions, these things, because if I were to build out this stand with the current saw, it's a couple inches shorter than my current table saw, and I'd like to keep it the comparable height because I'm used to that. So my primary reason was picking up these, and again, you can see that these used to be, you know, the gray. These were hella rusty. So I picked these up. So that was my primary reason. Secondary reason was one of these panels. I don't know if you recall, but the guy who had mine drilled 4 holes so he could rig up his janky on and off circuit breaker switch, and the holes weren't even straight. It wouldn't have been so bad if the holes were straight, but they didn't even line up. So I picked the best one, which I don't remember, it might have been this one, the least rusty, and wired that, and then used that as a replacement. So that was number 1, this was number 2, and then the nuts and bolts were number 3. In fact, they've been cleaned, as in derusted, blued, and then oiled. And that's been sitting in the oil for a couple days now. Whoa, that's on there good. And now my hand is going to be all oily, which is why I keep the rags around. Because between evaporust and oil, there's no shortage of messy mess. This is exactly why I like keeping these containers, these little sauce containers when we order out and whatnot. But the reason I needed or wanted the stand that I have, when I took it apart, one of these bolts was replaced with not the same thing. So similar but not same. And the nut was legit, but the bolt wasn't. So I figured, picking up this stand gives me the flexibility of killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The extension legs, the panel, and the nuts and bolts. And the other benefit of these legs, which the standard legs, these, don't have, and you can't see it in this picture. Where is it? In this picture. The extension legs, as you can see right here, allow you to bolt the stand down. So the mobile base that I'm picking up has a hole. I don't know if the hole will line up with this hole, and if not, then I'll be drilling. But it'll be nice to mount the stand to the base, because when you're moving stuff around, and especially from my garage, when I move the stand of my current saw out to the driveway, there's a lip on my, where my garage and driveway meet, and going out is no problem, but coming back in sucks, because sometimes you have to do a little lift, and with the saw not attached to the base, the saw is heavy enough that it's not going to come free of the base, but lifting it, this would prevent any base separation. So we'll say that there are 4 reasons for picking up this really poor condition stand. But again, it's funny when you think about how much the overall saw, my version of this saw, costs, $25. But then if you go and try to price individual pieces, you're just raped in terms of what the sellers want to charge. So that is it for this update, and we'll move out to the garage for more stuff later. Quick shot of the stand, the shell, whatever you want to call this. Mix of sunlight and shade. All right, finally did the oak add to the fence. It's all sanded and fitted, sanded, cut, fit, sanded, fitted, cut, fit, sanded, whatever order you want. And now I need to do the Watco water-based sealer and see how that turns out. This will be a driveway unboxing. And I would imagine, based on the shape of this box, you can guess what it is. Let me grab some gloves. It's as good as that looks. It looks rusty. There's the bottom. And there is the top. And yes, it is. Needs good cleaning. So this will get cleaned and hopefully will look like its twin. Be right back. When I'm done, there's no reason, and I don't know why, I keep getting a little bit of dusting there. So when I'm done, hopefully this one will look like this one. Little cleaner, little better, and I'll give this a final polish, as I will this, once it's on the table, instead of trying to combat the slight rusting. More to come. Thank you, Marketplace, for people getting rid of wood. This top has been cut down to almost the correct size, give or take a few inches on either of the four sides. And the point of this is to fill in and create a shelf here, because this is just wasted space. And my original thought, and this is the bonehead, so he was good enough to get two vertically straight but not two horizontally straight sets of screws. Just amazing. In any case, my original thought was to put the wood so that it sets on top on these four pieces, but then that doesn't create a lip of any type. So then I thought, if I cut this down a little more, I can set it on this inside lip along this four edges. That way, with the wood in there, if I set anything in here, like a box full of other miscellaneous pieces, if it moves around, it would have this lip. This would serve as a lip to hit it, instead of sitting on top here and then just sliding off. So I think I'm going to revise my plan and go with an inside cut. The problem is all the wonderful nooks and crannies because of all these pieces, these little 45-degree pieces that sit inside of this area. So I'm going to have to come up with a template and figure out how I'm going to get that in there, whether I take some legs apart, because I've started to assemble the stand, take some legs apart, then put the wood in, or what I'm going to do. But the first thing I'm going to do is measure and try and cut. So that'll be the next steps. We'll call this some more bigs. I decided to put this together just for demonstration purposes. Might have to do some fine tuning here if I ever use this, because you can see the difference in the slight difference. Let me put the camera down. There we go. So it's an interesting contraption, but I do have the wings. So table came out great. The only downside is I'm gonna have to find a better protectorant than Johnson Paste Wax, because this was done probably about 2 weeks ago, and you can already see some of the surface rust starting to kick in. Another one. But yeah, it came back to life big time. I think it looks gorgeous. I'm not going to worry about final touch-up until it's actually installed. The fence is now done. So mixed feelings on this. You can see the sheen in the sun. This took 3 coats. Let me go grab the bottle of Watco to show you. So I like the ultimate finish, probably better than the mineral based poly. Hang on one second. So this was my go-to. Still great. Very thick. Very, very thick. This is like milk. Okay, this is going to require 2 hands. One moment. Hopefully you can see that. I mean, it looks just like milk. Same consistency too. You use a lot more of this product than you do with this. But again, I think I like the finish better on the water-based after the 3rd coat. I never do 3 coats of this, maybe 2 at most. So kind of a wash. Went on really easy. Love the water-based cleanup, soap and water, and again, I think it came out good. All right, these are now twins. Again, I'll have to figure out something. I think there's some stuff online. I think this is another one, because you can see how quickly the surface rust appears again, and this is even with the waxing. So if anyone knows a great rust preventative for table saw tops, let me know. All right, this is going to be the tabletop, and I did the exact same thing with the base that you'll see here in a minute, hopefully, depending on what order I put these in. And this was a marketplace find, people giving away old desks and whatnot that are semi-oak, meaning this is a 1/32 oak veneer, but this is the side that I'll find valuable. And what I'll do is I'll chop all this mess off, same thing on that side, and then I will refinish. I'll glue them, refinish, and then you'll see what the finished product looks like here in a second with the mobile base. The maiden voyage. This is the first time this has actually been outside. And there you can see what I'm talking about in terms of the table, or the shelf is probably a better term, and how it's locked in. This is the front of the stand. I decided, just like the other one, to put the turn wheels off to the right side. This is perfectly centered on both sides and in the middle. Trying to debate how far back the saw is going to go. I'll measure with the table, but you can see all the bolts. They've all been cleaned, derusted, reblued. They're shiny because they're oily. And I don't know if you can see this, but let's see if I can get in here. I don't know if that's focusing because I can't see the screen, but that's the bolt drilled through the base. Number of washers, lock washer. I'll probably swap that out for a shorter bolt, but wasn't sure how crazy things were going to get. But again, the reason for this design is for that, so that when this is at an angle, whatever's in here is not going to fall out. My original thought was to have this sitting on top here, but I like this better. So the reclaimed wood, thank you very much, Marketplace. I love it when people give stuff away. 45-degree cuts in the corners, and you have to actually take the stand apart to get this out, so this isn't coming out. And that is the stand. I think it came out beautiful. These are the quite adjustable legs as opposed to the half heights. I actually like these better. Not that I would be you know, putting this thing at any extreme height. It should be about 36 inches when I'm done. I think this is, actually, let me check, 22 and change. Let's see what I got. Just coming in at 24. The shell, 24 plus an inch is 25. 11 and a half for the shell is 35 and a half, and 1.5 for the table, so we're at 37, which would put us right about comfortable right there. Good stuff. And we now have cut wood. So again, the side that the furniture faced and the side that I will deal with. Took a bunch of boards, as you saw, cut them down. I actually cut against the original glue line, so that when I glue these together in the pattern that I've selected, which you can see the order I'm going to put them in, and then final cuts will hopefully get rid of as much of that before I do any finishing. And this is the workhorse that has been doing all the good stuff. Last year's recondition. That now needs to get vacuumed out from all the yuckies. Awesome saw.